Hello, Western Heights Church family. Here's your Wednesday Minister Moment. You may remember from last week that we looked at John chapter 11, where Jesus wept with Mary and Martha after their brother Lazarus had died. God was showing his compassion to them and his empathy for them. And we as followers of Christ should follow his example. We should share grief with others as well. But as you look at that, you wonder, is that all there is? Do we just share that grief? Is there any hope involved? And that's what the rest of the story is about. What we find out is after Jesus weeps with Mary and Martha, that he walks over to the tomb. And he asks some people to move the stone away from the tomb. But Martha sees that and she runs over there and she says, Lord, he's been dead for 4 days. It's going to stink. Basically what she was saying to him was, Jesus, it's all been done that's going to be done. Just leave things the way that they are. She really didn't expect for Jesus at that time to do anything other than to be with them. But then Jesus says this. He says, didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe? And then he told the people to move the stone. Jesus looked up to heaven and he began to pray and said, Father, I thank you for hearing me. You always hear me. But I said it out loud for the sake of all the people standing here so that they will believe that you sent me. And then he shouted, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus came out. Lazarus was raised from the dead at the amazement of all of these people. They didn't realize that God was in their midst because God's the one who makes all the difference. Now, I would imagine that as Mary and Martha prayed, asking God to heal their brother, as they waited for Jesus to come, the doubts began to arise because Lazarus wasn't getting any better. I'm sure that there was a darkness that was starting to settle over them, and maybe a darkness of doubt, a darkness of wondering, why has this happened? Why is God not coming? Why is he not answering our prayers? Why is Jesus not coming to his friend? And then when Lazarus dies, this darkness of grief and hopelessness that might have been there for them may have settled over this situation for them. It could cause doubts. But what Jesus does is that not only does he show compassion for them when he arrives, but he helps them to see that there's hope. Because the giver of life, the creator of all things, is able to give life to their brother who had died. He's able to make everything new. Maybe you're in a time or a period of your life where it's pretty dark, that you feel despair, you feel grief because of loss. It might be that things seem pretty dark because of suffering that you're going through, maybe from an illness or from issues with a relationship or maybe a situation at school or your job. It could be that there's some other kind of suffering that you're experiencing. It could be that maybe it's the pain of guilt for some mistakes that you've made. And that darkness just weighs heavily over you. What I want you to know is that even in that darkness, Jesus can bring light. Even in that despair, Jesus can bring hope. Because he's the one who has the power to do it. You know, sometimes it may feel to us, like it did to Mary and Martha, that God takes too long responding to us, that our prayers seem to go unanswered, and that can create some issues for us. I get that. I've felt those things before myself. But just because it feels like God is delaying doesn't mean that God has forgotten. God hadn't forgotten Mary and Martha or Lazarus. He came when the time was right. And he made everything new for them. We need to remember that he's coming. That light can be brought into our darkness because Jesus is coming. That he is the one who gives us hope. In Revelation chapter 21, John writes these words. He says, "Look, God's dwelling place is among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." He who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." You see, someday, God will make everything new. He is the light in the darkness. He is the one who brings hope into our lives. My encouragement to you is to persevere. Even in the middle of the darkness, continue to call on God, realize that he cares for you, and that he is the hope that can bring light into those situations for you. Because he will make everything new. I hope this is an encouragement to you, and that you have a great day.